Hi, second grade friends. I'm back again to read more from the Magic Trap. So yesterday they were on their finale, their best trick they were doing where they were going to make Jessie disappear. And anyway, Jessie made it through. I know she doesn't like her tight spaces, but she made it through the hole. She was crawling out to go behind, end up at the back of the yard and then reappear when she saw something or someone that surprised her. So I hope you were asking yourself who you think it might be. I have a couple ideas, so let's see if we are correct. Evan was good at stage patter, but he couldn't keep talking like this forever. He had already walked 3 times around the basket, pointing out that it was truly empty and that Jessie had disappeared into thin air. Then he turned the basket upside again and refastened the lid. Then he lifted the basket off the ground, carefully holding the false bottom in place to show that there was nothing under the basket. My assistant is gone, disappeared, vanished. Who knows if we will ever see her again? The audience was completely silent, staring in wonder at the stage. Evan felt as though he had cast a spell over them. But it was a spell that wouldn't last forever. Where was Jessie? Why didn't she appear at the back of the audience as they had planned? Maybe she was stuck under the porch. Could she have hurt herself when she fell through the hole? Maybe she had gotten so scared in the basket that she had fainted after escaping. Evan scanned the back of the audience, trying to see if there was any movement in the woods. She should have appeared by now. Something must have gone horribly wrong. He was just about to announce that the show was over, pull the curtains closed, and go through the hole in search of Jessie, when he saw her sneaking through the trees behind the audience. Ah, what a relief. She was probably just being her unusual klutzy self, taking twice as long to crawl out from underneath the porch as anyone else. That was Jessie. Yes, she's gone, he called out to the audience. Gone, but I have the power to bring her back. With a wave of my magic wand. 1, 2, 3. Evan swished his hand in giant circles as if he were scooping up the air and gathering it into a powerful cyclone. I will make her reappear, as you can see. As Evan pointed his wand to the back of the audience, everyone in the backyard turned. When they saw Jessie standing there, they burst into wild applause. And look what I can make reappear, yelled Jessie under a loud applause as she walked to the stage. Professor Hoffman! She raised both hands over her head so that everyone could see the small white rabbit she held. Evan shouted, "Woohoo! That's all, folks!" and jumped down off the stage. He rushed over to Jessie and put both his hands on Professor Hoffman just to make sure he was real. He had learned enough about smoke and mirrors to know that you couldn't always trust your eyes, but touching the rabbit's soft fur and feeling his familiar twitch convinced him that the rabbit was back from the dead. He was in the woods. Asked Evan. No, whispered Jessie. He was under the porch. There's a tiny hole in the foundation. Tiny? She held up her hand and made a circle about the size of a $50 or so. He must have squeezed through it, and he's been hiding under the porch ever since. Wow, he's the escape artist. He should call himself Houdini, said Evan. Nope, he's Professor Hoffman, and he's never going anywhere again. Jessie lifted the rabbit to her face and laid her cheek against his soft fur. She loved Professor Hoffman. He had survived a Category 1 hurricane, too, just like them. Take a bow, said Megan. So Evan and Jessie jumped back on stage and bowed over and over again at the audience as they applauded and whistled and shouted, "Bravo!" Evan had the feeling that Jessie could stay up there all day, but he could tell that Professor Hoffman was getting jumpy, so he called out, "Show's over," and people started trailing away. Jessie put Professor Hoffman safely in his rabbit box with a whole lettuce leaf. Evan knew that if the rabbit pooped, he'd be the one who had to clean it up, but that was okay. Jesse had done such a great job with the amazing disappearing trick that he didn't mind taking care of this duty. They were hauling a large branch over to the side yard when Evan saw something that made him forget everything else. Are you wondering now who it was? Mom! He shouted, dropping the branch and running full speed at his mother. By the time he wrapped his arms around her and breathed in her familiar smell, Jessie was pulling on her mother's arm. Evan wasn't sure why, but he suddenly started crying. And then his mother started crying too. We got a rabbit, said Jessie. What? Asked their mother. Evan glared at Jessie. He didn't think that was maybe the best thing to begin with after their mom returned. His name is Professor Hoffman. He was supposed to be part of our magic show. That's why Dad got him, but then he couldn't be in the show because we thought he had died because Jessie's voice stumbled and faltered and then simply collapsed into silence. A rabbit, huh? Their mother shook her head, and Evan could see a trace of annoyance on her face. Let me talk to your dad about that. And she started to walk around the side of the house and into the backyard, but she stopped dead when she saw the climbing tree. Oh my God, she said. Jessie started to jump up and down. It landed on my bed, right on my bed. Evan saved my life because he told me to sleep in your bed. When we woke up, there was a sound like a cannon going off. Kapow! Well, why didn't Dad call me? When did this happen? Then Evan saw that their mother was staring at the porch. The railing was missing, but not in jagged pieces. It was cleanly removed. Evan, did the storm take the porch railing? No, said Evan. Dad took it down because he said it wasn't safe. He already called someone to repair it, but I don't remember the name. He took it down, said their mother, repeating the words as if they couldn't possibly be right. He took down my porch railing? Where is your father? As she talked, she climbed onto the porch and headed for the kitchen door. Don't step there, Evan shouted as his mother was about to cross the rug. My rug, she said. Jessie, Evan, you know you're not allowed to take anything from my office. She bent over and picked up the wet rug, revealing the hole underneath. Things are getting worse, aren't they? No one said a word. Their mother looked at the hole, and now Evan could see that she was furious. Was she mad at him? He had wanted her to come home, but not so she would be mad at him. Suddenly he felt so tired, as if he'd been holding up the whole house for 2 days. He had tried to keep everything together, but the house was in ruins, and his mom hadn't even seen the leaks in the ceiling or the flooded basement. How angry was she going to get? I need to talk with Dad, she said, her voice sounding strangely quiet. Where is he? Evan and Jessie just stared at her. Evan was petrified that Jessie was going to say something, and just as scared that she wouldn't say anything and leave it all up to him to explain. Their mother looked at them, one and then the other, and then back again. Where is he? She repeated. But this time her voice was so taut that Evan knew she was even more scared than they were. He left, said Jessie. What do you mean? Asked their mother, her voice as small as a pinprick. He just left, said Evan. It was awful to say that out loud. What kind of father leaves his kids? He went back to the war. Oh my goodness, how is their mother going to handle it when she hears they were home alone during the hurricane? We shall see. Bye.